Faster
turn,
button.
yeah. Oh.
This might be curtains now, Brandon.
We in shot clock territory, Walt.
Here we go. Okay,
He's
no
gotta
press,
rest.
no
He
press.
has to rest.
Zain knows now he has the lead. 30 seconds left on this last game. Here we go. 8 bucks here by the way.
Unless you're frame perfect 99 out of 100 times, you're not good enough. That's my mindset. That's what I tell myself. That's all I do.
You ever have everything you ever wanted, and then when you finally have it, you're like, now what?
Nah, but I've heard that. What you're talking about?
Welcome to Fourside Fights, featuring CurlyW, Toph, Dr. Z, and Spark. He's just Spark. Citizens of Fourside, I'm Jackzilla, and I know, number one, in the alternate reality where Panda survives the end of 2022, they die in the 2023 esports collapse anyways. Number two, we know how to stack setups at majors, but we still need to learn how to stack seating for players. Number three, Doc Lee is top 15. And number four, I want a back massage from Jorge before my next commentary block. Let's go to each side. This one's from Anaconda of the Discord. What tournament so far this year was Oppenheimer, and what tournament was Barbie? Let's start with CurlyW.
Hi, but first of all, thanks for forgetting to tag me in the tweet that you just made promoting the show.
You said it said you couldn't. I couldn't tag you.
What?
It said I couldn't tag Curly.
Okay, then there's probably good reasons for that. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
How dare you?
Either way, whatever. Okay, it's not important. Either way, in terms of tournaments this year, which is the good one between Barbie and Oppenheimer? I get them mixed up because I think both of them were very important, and also I've not seen Oppenheimer. So I'm not exactly sure.
All right, Dr. Z, which tournament was Oppenheimer and which tournament was Barbie?
Genesis 9 was Oppenheimer. Just very frantic, crazy audio in that finals room, just all over the place. And Barbie was, I'll go with sMashcon for Barbie. Just, you know, it's got the aesthetic tight. It's really tight.
Okay. Toph?
Listen, oh my god. Oppenheimer's gotta be Collision, right? Ceiling really low, it's just stuffy, crowded, the pacing, like what's going on? Not to mention everyone just comes down with the stomach bug, that's kind of like a nuclear explosion. And then when it comes to Barbie, you know, Barbie to me, I could talk about this for a long time, I'm not going to. I think Barbie really, it explored a lot of topics I just didn't think it was gonna explore. And Battle of BC, I was on a boat Sunday night, so I'm gonna go with Battle of BC is gonna be Barbie.
Okay. And Spark, which tournament was Oppenheimer, which tournament was Barbie?
I gotta disagree with Sheridan here. I think that that Super SMashCon is actually Oppenheimer. As someone who attended Super SMashCon, you played on some unhinged setup. You didn't know what was on there. There was 1.03, there was Vanilla Melee, it was all on GameCubes, no slippy VODs. You go to the bathroom, you try to poop, it takes 45 minutes. There's so many people. There's one urinal that doesn't work, and it's just an overflowing piss pool. The vibes are off, okay, and it's unhinged. But
it's like they just set up that crazy city for you. And just
famously, there was only one urinal at Los Alamos. Welcome to Fourside Fights. We've got four outstanding guests today who are going to act as pundits as I throw topic after topic at them. They'll give their takes. If they're entertaining or interesting, I'll give them points. If they're boring, repetitive, or patently unreasonable, I'll subtract points. And of course, I can mute any contestant at any time for any reason, although historically, I've just been going with being rude to people and not muting. The player with the most points at the end is our winner. They get to commentate the three losers as they take it to Fourside in a free-for-all to see exactly how their punditry translates to Melee. Let's get started with our first topic. Zain prevented an Ascendant 2019-esque Hungry Box from resetting the bracket on him by mere frames to win his third tournament in a row this year. He is nearing a 50% major win rate on the year. Is this the beginning of a new golden age for our hero Marth, or is Zain getting boosted by the lack of fully powered Jmook, Plup, or Leffen at many of these tournaments? Let's start with Dr. Z.
Well, you know, I think this could be like a Serena situation where she was just so dominant, but, you know, if you kind of plug in some numbers, a lot of that was because her competition was not quite at the level that you might have seen in the past. But, you know, does that speak to the competition being low or Serena just being super high up there and just untouchable in a freak of nature? I don't know. Right now, I think I'm going to have to give it to, I think Zain might be our Serena right now.
Okay. Toph, what do you think?
I think, I think that there are a couple, pretty much the reason Melee is really fun to watch right now is all the top players kind of have some kind of bracket demon, right? There's somebody who's like, probably if they play each other, you can kind of safely say, okay, this is probably going to go in one player's way. And I think Zain is probably the most complete in terms of the way he performs against his bracket demons, which are the aforementioned, Jmook, etc. I think he's got the best shot against them. You can point to Fett and say Jmook's controller was, malfunctioning or what have you, but Zain still looked like he just came to play, right? So, I think he's just the most complete right now, but yeah.
Okay. Curly, do you have a take on this? You're always a lot. Anytime it's getting too melee for you, I will accept this is getting too melee for me as our FGC correspondent.
I could definitely pick out. Look, it was mostly just technical issues on my end for the previous question. As far as like the melee question goes, it does seem from watching it that I don't think it's just a Marth issue because it's not just Marth because the second best placing Marth was, of course, Kadoran, as it very often is. And Kadoran got ninth and got actually pretty destroyed by Zuppy. I think Zuppy won twice on FD. I believe. I think it was just straight 3-0. If not, it was 3-1. It was never close, and it was honestly.
Can anybody fact check this?
Insane.
Is that what happened? I don't remember.
I believe so,
I did did watch.
Okay, then
this.
you get extra.
I watched that one set for whatever reason. That was like the only thing I watched from sMashcon.
Okay.
For whatever reason, and I was like, oh wow, damn! It was very clearly. It's very clearly not just Marth. I think Zain's just that much better than the field.
Well, I'm thinking he's dodging
field,
the Sheiks.
Exactly. Apart from the ones who play Sheik.
Sure. So Spark, do you feel like Zain is dodging the Sheiks? Is this all Mickey Mouse until he fights like 3 demons in a row and conquers them all?
Listen, don't get it twisted. Zain, goated. He's got the sauce. Marth, pretty good against Spaceys. He can get the job done. But, I watch him versus H-Goat, and, my man's looks like he's been playing Smash Ultimate for, 5 months straight. And, I don't know what would happen if H-Goat, really busts it down for more than, 2 money matches with my Fox at Super SMashCon. Why the hell did you make me do that one? I don't understand. Not to make this about me, but I warm up Zain every single time for the Sheiks. I'm his go-to partner. I warmed him up for 4 hours straight at Genesis, and I gotta be honest, I'm dog shit at versus Marth. I don't understand anything. And I took 1 game in 4 hours, and then I'm like, dude, this guy's the GOAT. No way he's gonna lose. And then he gets clapped by Jmook at Genesis, and I'm like, dude, the vibes are all. I just don't understand, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I was gonna say, he definitely did not end up winning that. It is just a thing where I think Marth's just not that good in the end. I think my friend said this, who played Melee a long time ago, got back into it for 1 tournament during the revival in 2014, and then quit again. But he's actually very good at KOF 15. He got 25th this year at Evo. Brightside, shouts out.
And he said Marth's just not.
Yeah, he's basically Marth can't win. This was in 2014 after 1 tournament, and honestly, kind of agree. I think Zain's just that good and can win with any character.
Mm-hmm.
We have it under.
Go ahead.
I just want to contribute by saying we have it under pretty good authority that legendary tournament seeder Algebra, aka TL343, aka Damien, I think has defeated this player in tournament. So just want to add some context.
That's a different player. Different player. That was FDX and no. FDX
oh, you're talking about someone else. Oh, okay.
I'm talking about Brightside, who's a friend of mine.
Oh, you said Brightside. Got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And pulling the scrub card on a player's opinions. I thought that we'd
points away.
Surpass this discourse. All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Algebra looked it up.
All right. Sheridan here has a Smashboards account that dates back to June 4th, 2003. I think JD has a picture of it. That means you are in the perfect position to talk about Blur's take, which was, and I quote, "I genuinely believe Zain is 2 or 3 tiers above the next best players. Everyone is terrified of him. They're all scared to death. The only time I remember a player being this far ahead is either Ken over his field or Mango at his peak 2012 Mango. Is Zain Ascendant actually similar to Prime Ken? What do you think?"
Well, one way I try to look at this is what fraction of the time that you were playing did you dominate? And like Ken was kind of the only game in town for years, and it was like pretty much the years that Smash first started being like a competitive game. So like if you dominate the entire time that you're there, like that's something that you have to contend with in terms of legacy. And you know, we did have Korean DJ and PC Chris come in towards the end and kind of knock him down a little bit, but I think I want to see a little bit longer dominance from Zain against also a stronger field before I am countenancing Blur's take.
Do you think there will ever be a player like Ken that just like scales up their tournament, like where they win their local, then they win the regional, and it's just win until they're at the top?
I don't see why not. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I think we've seen examples of that already, but it's just a matter of continuing that streak and like holding the top for a long period of time. I think Zain and Jmook are both great examples of they just started winning and they just had a consistent rise.
This just in. Blur said that this is the caveat is that it's not the results that make it Ken-like, it's the pure skill. Does anybody on our panel here think that makes any difference in how you're analyzing this question?
Wait. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes all the difference, right?
All right, Toph, go for it.
If you're saying, because I mean, if you're evaluating dominance over the field and duration of time they did that, I think that's really different from even the way people talk about, people say Armada's he's not the GOAT, he's the boat. He's the best of all time. He's the best player. And obviously that changes all the time, right? Whoever's the best player that's ever been is just basically going to be the best current player. But I think
the Armada is several boats, not just one boat.
But
Armada
it's
is
talking
many
about
boats.
just like gaps, like skill gap versus the field. Like you might not have a results gap, but you might have a skill gap. And what Ken had?
I personally,
vice versa.
I personally am actually really into talking about that sort of thing because I think it's really fun to talk about, and I think that everybody has a really different opinion. Like I've talked to Amsa, and I think this was right after Amsa got 25-2 by Plup, and Amsa was like, "Dude, I don't care what the data says, Plup's just the best player." And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of get that." You watch Plup some days, and it's just like, who's beating this, right?
Yeah.
And he's not. You can't put Plup at number one. You can't even put him at what? He was 9th this year, right? But like, you watch Plup, you turn the VOD on, and you're like, dude, I don't know, man. What do you do?
To
about
pivot
this?
completely, if Hungrybox doesn't exist, is Plup the GOAT?
I'm down to call Plup the GOAT any given
day.
week.
I think Plup is also the best player of every character.
You know what I mean? If you watch enough Melee,
and and definitely. Just the awful thing about being in the same region as HBox for his entire life.
I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah, go for it.
So I feel like maybe I'm just a zoomer and I don't respect my elders, but like I don't give a fuck about how good Ken was. Nobody knew about crouch canceling back then. Nobody knew anything. It's much more impressive that Zain is gapping these hoes, even though sometimes he loses to Amsa or Jmook or whatever. I don't care that Ken did the Ken combos and he like F-smash edge guarded and he learned about chain grabbing and the hacky sack in the documentary. I don't really care, man. I don't care how many times Ken whooped Hugo or whatever, because Zain clearly has worked so much harder. And the competition is so much more ferocious because there's more people, there's more money, there's more eyes. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just disrespectful of the old
Maybe I think if it's harder, I mean, back then they didn't have all these resources on how to learn the game. It was much smaller. You basically had to learn it on your own. So in that sense, Ken's kind of like a unique talent. Once lifetime talent in that way. The fact also that when Ken came back during the revival and actually did kind of decently in several tournaments, it was actually honestly very impressive.
And his like hands were fucked up. Like it wasn't like he was like prime Ken anymore.
Oh no, definitely not.
He had already gone on Survivor. There was nothing left to prove. He was the best when Melee was the only game.
Yeah. So
in
the
town.
point being is that eventually Zain is going to get there. At some point, every player, at some point, you have your later years. You have your Michael Jordan on the Wizards years, which honestly weren't that bad. He was like 6th man of the year, arguably, some of those years. But it's still like not going to be his peak. at some point you kind of need to take that into account when you evaluate a player's legacy.
Yeah.
But I think the question is like, if you took Ken's, not necessarily Ken from 2006, but Ken with the mind for Melee that he had and the drive, and transported him here, what would be different? Because obviously, like, you know, Babe Ruth was like out homering entire teams, but if he played today, he would get destroyed. So like, you have to like think about what facets of Ken you're going to transport over today. And I don't think like it's not just like, what if 2006 Ken played today? It's what if you took Ken's
steroids.
Yeah, if you took Ken's, you know,
or if Ken were born 10 years later, essentially.
So my take,
the vibes.
My take is that Ken was a grinder. He busted it down, and he picked a character that worked well with him. But I think that Zain's work ethic is exponentially bigger and better than Ken's ever was, and that's just my opinion. I got no way of proving it, but come on, let's just keep it a stack for a second.
I think that's true.
I need to say one more thing just to close this out too, because I think something that gets really robbed from the Zain discussion very frequently is that people really forget he's only been number one on one or two rankings basically, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, Zain was already in the discussion for best player in the world in like 2019, and then COVID hit, and we didn't have rankings for a while. When you put that into perspective, how long was Ken?
He also clapped online. People don't really
talk
about
it. That's what I'm saying.
And
online isn't real.
Nobody
online.
ranks those groups.
Online's not real.
That's what I'm saying. But nobody. Online's not real. I think it takes a huge chunk of the respect that Zain is due out of the equation, because how many years was Ken on top? 5 or 6. Zain, you know, we kind of think of it in terms of like, well, Zain's only had 1 or 2 years being ranked number 1. No, it's really been like 4, bordering 5.
I just think
this is an interesting position to put Spark in. Like,
I will say,
do you want Zain to get credit for online years, or do you want online to be fake?
Spark's got 2 wolves inside of him. Spark's got 2 wolves inside of him right now.
I have what I call, you know, the 4 horsemen of net play.
It just has to be separate.
Only 4 characters in Melee get buffed on net play. You can probably guess what they are, and the rest do get nerfed. They get worse. Marth is one of the characters that gets better. But, you know, when he clapped me in grand finals of SCL, I knew that I was just getting gapped, bro. I knew that it would be the same shit offline. I could feel it in my soul.
Yeah.
By the way, Mango flew to Zain's house. Remember this. Mango did fly to Zain's house when they were the clear number 1 and number 2, and they played an offline set, and it was not pretty. It wasn't tournament, but it was first to 5.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. MVD, former Thunder Gaming collaborator, spent some time a few days ago lamenting the death of Panda Gaming and blaming the community for throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. He was echoing a mech post arguing that if we behaved better, Nintendo would pay Melee players Capcom money. Are they right? Is this all our fault? Or should people who want the Capcom bag just play Capcom games?
There's so much I cannot say. I swear to God that it would be. I would get in trouble.
What can you say, CurlyW, FGC correspondent?
I've never. I think the most damning thing. I'm not sure who it's more damning of between like MVD agreeing with Mech or Mech agreeing with MVD. I'm not exactly sure who looks worse than that. Maybe depends on your perspective, but that it did not make sense to me, unfortunately, and. Someone's going to say it eventually if it's not me. Like, there's obviously ways to get more money in, obviously not from the developer, but there's a lot of drawbacks that come with that, just in terms of the control that the developer has in the tour, and also how it affects like every event that doesn't make the tour. There's definitely a lot of events, if you don't get like the premier level, you don't really get that much money from the company, and that doesn't really help the events. I guess it was similar.
So kind of our first line of argument here is that the Capcom bag isn't even that bag.
It's not worth it.
How that would be
it's
said?
Not worth it. It was 7,000 people in the hopes of getting a spot in a later tournament for $1 million, maybe. It is not worth it.
I didn't follow this whatever discourse on Twitter. Did someone say that if we behaved better, Nintendo would smile upon us as Melee players?
I believe so.
The argument, to be as charitable as I can, the argument was when Panda fell down, that it was because of choices Dr. Allen made, and we could have kept Panda the tournament series, the Panda Cup, all these things without the stink of whatever reputation Dr. Allen adopted, but that the community was so filled with rage and hatred that we didn't allow that to happen, and we missed out on a big bag as a result.
I think that is actually possible, given the sponsors that the Panda Tour was getting in towards like the later half of that year.
That's spicy. So,
and I do think so. Like they had like actual like big companies suddenly buy in, because suddenly for the first time ever, Nintendo was somehow, I don't know what dark magic they did to pull it off, other than like obviously getting getting every other event canceled. But the fact that that various like partners were buying in. Remember the pistachios and the milk, and soon maybe frozen concentrated orange juice or whatever other commodity. And that was.
So if you're looking.
That was happening.
Sad. Toph, why are you so sad?
I think Smash players are dumb folks, bro. I don't know, man.
No, I mean, Curly, yeah, I mean, I think there is an argument with that whole sponsor thing, but if you ever talk to anybody about how difficult it was to acquire, anybody else to acquire sponsors and the direction that was going,
without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I think that's probably why Dr. Z hasn't been saying too much.
Well, the worst topic for this group. You can't say anything.
Yeah, let's pry open this box over here. Dr. Z, what's the TO perspective on this?
You know, I've been thinking about just our whole trajectory with it for a while, and maybe it's because I've been listening to a lot of Castlevania music recently, but I kind of think Nintendo is like Dracula, where every so often somebody's going to try to revive them or bring them back, and Dracula's always just going to be coming back. It's just a recurring fact of nature in this community, and every time somebody thinks that they're going to bring back Dracula for good reasons, and some Belmont is there to vanquish them for whatever reason or not. So I think Nintendo is coming back into our lives whether we like it or not, even as crazy as that sounds, given the history of the last 3 years with them. But, maybe they'll be the Dracula from the Netflix series. I mean, he had a pretty good reason for blowing up the world, or trying to anyway.
Yeah.
So you never know what you're going to get.
At some point, your hope and compassion is gone, and you've sold out your dream to the world, and you should just stay dead. You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
I know. I will say that, very likely, even though I mentioned, yes, they were getting sponsors, there was the potential for more money later, but that was still, at least another year away, I would think.
It's always another year later.
It always is, and that's just it. And of course, then there was the whole economic downturn that we've kind of had. So who knows if that even would have stayed? Yeah. The fact is that when it was first announced, everyone in the community, especially on the Melee side, and Dr. Z and Toph are well aware of this, were like, "Why would you try again to work with Nintendo after all that's happened?"
Dude, I don't follow any of this shit. I don't fucking know. But what I do know is Nintendo hates us, and that will never change. It's very obvious, time and time again. They despise us. They will not help us. They will do everything in their power to keep us down, and the only thing is they try to minimize our outrage, and then so they'll give us the bare minimum, and that's it. And I feel like that's obvious at this point. I don't need to
think this is a little bit of an Ultimate Gamer kind of take, where it's there's more of a clear path when you're the most recent game in the series. And you could even then argue maybe Melee won't get direct support, but if we get the bag, our events will just have a Melee side event over there in the corner, and you will be taken along with us, right? And I've always thought that laundering angle had a bit of logic to it, but I think, listen, as different as I feel I am to my alt brethren, this is the same ballpark. This is the same copyright.
It is very funny that this all started with a Ganon player, the ultimate capitalist character.
Everybody is the same. There are archetypes that emerge in every fighting game, regardless of what we do.
The guy that ran Thunder Gaming, I'm blanking on his name. The guy who was on The Bachelor.
The Bachelor?
He would definitely play Ganon.
For sure. Every person that's ever been on The Bachelor, with the exception of Colton, would be a Ganon main.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. Mango has become so confident in his Dr. Mario, he is defeating top 15 players with it and losing to HBox. And HBox is using 10% of his H-Brain while defeating him. He has now challenged Hungrybox to a 15K, no 10K, no 5K money match, Doc versus Puff. Is this what 17 years of exposure to chain grabbing and the Puff matchup does to a man? What's going on in the mind of the GOAT? Anybody
Dude,
can take it.
I feel like there's. I guess the question isn't like, is it cringe or is it swag? But I do want to preface, like, I think it's a little rough for people if specifically he's going his main in winners and he's like, I lost, and then in losers he goes dog. So I think the vibes are kind of off with that. But in terms of like what's going through his mind, I think he's like kind of burnt out from these vibes. Have you ever like played Liquid Hungrybox before, and like in person, and like, dude, you're just trying to play your favorite game, and like, you know, you maybe you had some nice moments, but you ultimately lost, and you have to like mentally prepare for what your ears are about to experience. It's rough, and my man's been doing it for years. Nobody else has been through it as many times as he has. And you know what? Maybe he's just trying to have a good time. I don't really get it, because I feel like playing as Dr. Mario is not fun for anyone. But if he has fun with that and he's trying to relax and have a good time, I can respect it. But I think he's just a little burnt out right now. You know, the something Mango always comes back or whatever. You know, the vibes. Yeah. So that's all I got.
Anybody else? Are the vibes off for anybody else?
I think that Mango doesn't enjoy winning the way that he's currently winning. Like, I don't think when he goes to Gommel and, like, you know, makes a comeback against Moki or whatever, he's, like, happy. I think he's like, why the fuck did I just beat Moki? Like, I think he doesn't feel like he's necessarily in practice. Every single stream title he has is, like, playing Melee for some fucking reason. I think he has a meta desire to play, right, and win. He's a meta desire to win. Like, he wants to win. Yeah. And he wants to feel the fire. He misses the fire. He craves the fire, and I think he respects the fire. But I think that it's not there right now, and he's trying to do what he can to kind of get it back. Yeah,
God,
which
like
I don't know.
I also switch characters when I want to win.
It's
Curly.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
Because there's something about Doc.
Fair enough. It is very much like it's been said before. Like, he's at the point where it's like he's done basically everything there is to do in the game and in the community. He's still going to events because he is Mango, and I guess people expect him to. At some point, like, he does want to at least make it entertaining for himself in terms of like how he wants to play. I know he probably does want to be number one again, ultimately, but I don't know if he really is that obsessed with it. As much as, you know, others may think. I think at some point he's a dad. He's got other things going on in his life. He's playing a bunch of other games. He's, you know, trying to get whatever level platinum, was it plat or diamond? I don't know, in every Riot games, and there's going to be more of those coming soon.
Yeah.
He's got maybe it's Immortal, actually. I don't exactly remember.
In the depths of League of Legends, you find your soul, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem to have a fun time playing fighting games wrong, which is always very funny to see. The fact that he'd probably be way better if he played on a, you know, a pad, any sort of controller rather than getting a stick, but he got a stick. He also has insisted on playing classic mode within modern, even though there's definitely some elements that modern could do well.
All right. I am going to cut you off. Dr. Z, what do you think?
Well, I just wonder if he's trying to escape from expectations and maybe what he feels other people expect him to do. And once he frees himself from that, he can play Melee the way he wants to play, or not play it. Who knows? But I think really, like, he just doesn't want to have everybody else's expectations in the back of his mind every time that he's playing. And maybe playing Doc is a way of signaling to everybody, just let me do my thing and don't expect everything from me every single tournament.
Who's setting these expectations? Is this my fault? Is it pundit shows?
I don't know.
About points and talking about Melee? Who's doing this?
Yeah, it's probably 5 people psychoanalyzing him on a stream that's 150 viewers or something like that.
Really? 150?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, it might be our fault then. If it's 150, it's our fault. If it's under 100, it's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn.
All right.
I remember he said, like, he wishes he could, like, be at peace with leaving the game, but he's just gapping everyone without even working hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wishes he would get gapped so he can be like, all right, you beat me. You're goated. So
I've become a huge like ChatGPT Leffen fan again in the past month or so, and there's that tweet where like Deep Leffen bot has to take a deep breath when he's like tilted about traveling and going, and he's like, well, you don't have any other skills. You really fucked up your life, so you better go to this. And I think that sometimes happens to esports players over time. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Stop?
I do think this will come back, though, and I want to just mention it right now because it will come up later. I do think at some point Melee just makes everyone who plays it eventually very miserable. Eventually it's going to happen.
Okay, Toph laughed, and Toph is ahead of me by many years, and I didn't laugh, so maybe I'm still, I don't know. I just stop playing when I'm not having fun, and then eventually I have fun again.
But you're not
Maybe
the
I'm
level,
just
you're
young
not
and
the
naive.
level of a Mango. You're not
Maybe
the
I'm
level.
just young and naive, but I love Melee, man. I be playing it all the time. Like after every
Mark.
tournament, at Sunday, I stay up all night drinking coffee, money matching people. Melee's awesome. And then if you're burnt out, you just Iron Man people and play Marth and spam F Smash. It's sick.
So
I want to reconcile these two opinions because I think there's so much truth in both of them. I think Melee is so fun and so sick. Yeah, I think Melee is so fun and so sick. Spark, I've seen you in depresso mode. Don't try to lie to me, bro. We've all been in depresso mode. And the thing is, Melee has made us feel such heights emotionally that like because the heights are there have to be the lows, right? And I think that Melee, because it's so unchanging, like I've thought about this very recently. Like why are Melee players always a little? It feels like when I see the way they react to their losses, it feels like they're sadder sometimes than when I watch some of the FGC pros. And I feel like, maybe you're getting kind of smoked in Guilty Gear Strive or whatever. But I think the fact that there's always a new fighting game coming around the corner, you can kind of say to yourself, well, okay. Maybe we get him on the next one, but I think with Melee, it's this unchanging thing, and you really just have to look within. And I think that's really hard.
You're not going to get him on the next one.
It
Speaking of though, there are some people that have a chance on the next one. Let's move on to our next topic. Another ranking period, another nail biter to determine which of Amsa or Mango would be ranked higher. This time, Mango won the coin flip, and Amsa went on the timeline to complain that his placements were better than Mango's, and that he is constantly being blocked by the same two players with a combined 0 and 11 set count versus Moki and Cody. Would Amsa have become Mr. Number 6 if the panelists on SSBM rank, the ranking ghouls, weighed Daddy's Den X Supreme a little more?
Dude, I was in grand finals of Daddy's Den X Supreme. Polling Fix was not on. I don't know anything about Yoshi, bro. Congratulations. Placings are cringe, dude. It's all about who you beat. Who cares that you got first at Daddy's Den? That tournament was dog shit, bro. Oh my god, we waited for 7 hours in top 8 when it was supposed to start 7 hours ago. Don't even get me started, dude. But
who got third at Daddy's Den?
I do think Amsa did get gapped though. If you take placings didn't count, I don't look at the numbers, but I'm pretty sure he beat more people and like. But it's not because of the placings. Fuck the placings. What was your question? Sorry.
Who did you beat to get second?
I defeated Zamu. No. I defeated CPU Zero, and then who defeated Zamu, and I defeated Squid. And I defeated Steak Under Couch because my side of the bracket was seated very favorably for me. It was sick.
That's tight. What do we think? Should we have weighed Daddy's Den X Supreme a little more?
No,
Anybody else?
7-hour delay. That sounds awful. I mean, if not every tournament can be on the same level of quality as Evo. Anyway, as far as I think it is impressive that Amsa's only lived in North America for, I guess, just about a year now, and he's already complaining so far on the level of a top NA player. His complaining game about seeding and about rankings is already up there with the top. I mean, it's just like when he was able to win Big House shortly after moving here. Yeah. It just shows like that he always had this in him.
Yeah. He's ready to be a Fourside fighter for sure. Dr. Z, what do you think?
Well, I mean, yeah, he's flipping people off and using swear words on Twitter, becoming a real American, you know. So obviously, the move has affected him, even though he's in Canada. You know, some of that still just kind of percolates over. But just having the glance at the matchup chart in the 10 minutes of studying I did right before this show, I do think Amsa's matchups, his wins look, I would on the balance say, better than Mango's. So I don't know, maybe this is the panelists trying to make up for the 2 versus 3 at the end of 2022.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe some things are.
I was voting just off of pure dislike, and whoever I disliked the least started to float towards the top. So my ballot was very, very cursed and unreal. And you will see.
I do think my man should.
Mark,
be
you were top
penalized.
10 for me, by the way.
What's popping?
Nothing. Go ahead.
I do think my man should have been punished a little bit for going sicko mode with Doc at like 3 tournaments. Like, and even he doesn't want to be number 6. Let my man who is out here grinding get number 6. Like, what's
2 of those tournaments were after the ranking period, and the Genesis one was basically weighed like a DQ for content. And it's like, do we want people to just drop out when they're feeling better? Would we rather we get the stream matches? And that's how it goes.
I will we live in.
And you get punished for losing by other people advancing further in the bracket and getting more wins.
Double elimination is just not. Matchups are not predictable always, especially in losers.
True.
I mean,
what do you think?
Yeah, so a couple things are going on here, right? I think Amsa, remember how I talked earlier about Zain, who's I think is very complete, very good against his bracket demons relatively to the rest of the top players. Amsa's not right now. I do think he has a case for 6, like Sheridan said. I do think you can look at his head-to-heads against Cody and Moki and go, "Oh my god, that is a huge number," in the other, in the Fox's favor. And what that really means is like, as a thought experiment, if I'm 0-1 lifetime against Zain, that means Zain's better than me, and we've played 1 time. If we played 30 times, I'd be 0-30 against Zain, right? It's just the fact that Amsa, I think it feels like he's slumping to a lot of people. It's not really that he's slumping. It's just he keeps running into Moki and Cody. If he keeps having to play Moki and Cody and he can't beat Moki and Cody are going to keep beating him, but it's going to look bad. But I think if you're objective about it, I don't think Amsa's really gotten any worse. That being said, yeah, I mean, fuck Daddy's Den. It's not like winning
all my
a
homies
regional.
ain't Daddy's Den.
Sorry, please don't say the sequence of words. Fuck Daddy's Den.
Well, I mean, also there was Melee
as
the Elm 10. There was the Trail Invitational. These are some great firsts.
No, it's just I'm totally on Spark's side, and I think this is kind of the common panelist opinion these days, where I think it's a lot more important. It's even how the data is represented in spreadsheets. It's who you beat, who you lost to. It's not like here are the placings you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah 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 blah. Because then Cody got 17th or whatever, 13th at something, losing to Polish. It's like I don't care.
Yeah, we've become robots with no souls, but somehow that has combined to us making rankings that are more fair and kinder to the players for their failures.
I do have a bit of a solution because a lot of the problem with ranking is simply not having enough data. So what I thought is that if we make floating really painful for the people involved and just force them to play sets over and over to get more data for the tournament, then the people who aren't floated won't complain, and then everybody's happy. We can float the people that are good, force them to play, get a bunch of data, and the person who's 65th is like, I'm the top seed, and I didn't have to play all these sets. I'm doing great.
Sheridan, I'm begging you, please stop making floating happen, please.
You gotta
try. This world is so short on
I'm still traumatized from working on Genesis 3 and 4.
It's all about experimentation.
I blame
Don't let them hold you back.
All these start GG issues that exist. I blame 50% of them just for the fact that we had to figure out how to float 64 people for Genesis 3 and 4.
That's kind of spitting. I forgot about software existing. Yeah, sans software. I think you got to do what you got to do to experiment.
But that's what LSI is. That's what LACS is. Those exist. Maybe you can get more of them. They can still count. Maybe they can be longer sets. There's still other options. Maybe that's part of rankings lead into a final. Maybe that's what someone's planning.
Maybe they
cool.
come on Fourside Fights and they fight each other. All right, let's go on to our next topic. Spark, you got kind of shafted this year by your SSBM rank blurb. Let's play a game of conservation of shaft. Who deserved to be most roasted more by their blurb writer? Like, if you could change that roasting, who would you put it upon?
Who would I roast?
Who do you think got you? So you got this blurb that I think was not exactly hitting the mark. It came off across like a roast.
Yeah,
if you could pick somebody else to take the bullet instead, who would you take?
I'd pick
Somebody has to get it.
I'd pick someone who is so beloved that it doesn't matter. And so I would pick Mango. Because everyone loves Mango. It doesn't matter if you roast him. It's fine. But if you're talking about humble Spark, maybe don't be like, people say he's lame, but he's totally not. I know I'm not Jmook, man. I know I am not God's gift to mankind. Okay? I know I don't got all the sauce in the world, but I'm out here doing my best. Maybe just talk about the vibes and the milkshakes. You don't have to fucking just steer clear of this. That's all I'm trying to say. So I would just give it to Mango,
You think we should, you think that the roast should have been on Mango.
Or like Dewan. Like, do you think Dewan gives a fuck if someone says anything about him? I'm out
Now
here
we're
going to
cooking.
everything. I went to more tournaments than any other human being in this community last season.
Yes, sir.
And it got me nothing but roasting. My rank didn't even get better. Like, I didn't get rewarded for attendance. I didn't get anything, bro. All I got was, people say he's lame, but he's totally not.
So,
actually, I kind of seriously, I'm interested why, you felt really slighted by this, because to me that read as he has this reputation, but it's undeserved, and you should like him. So I don't
want to show my parents that shit, bro. I don't want my parents to be like, oh, people think he's lame, but he's totally not. Okay, just steer clear of this topic. Talk about the milkshakes or the vibes if you want to talk about me.
Sheridan, I think the argument is you should make the affirmative case for somebody, not a defensive case.
But this has happened for a long time.
I have a Sheridan, to answer your question, I have a pertinent story from Bobby Scar. Bobby Scar, at a tournament many years ago, was approached by another commentator who's since kind of been exiled from the community, but whose tag had started with a letter and ended with a number and was two
nice.
And that person came up to Bobby Scar and said, "Hey man, I know people really say all kinds of horrible things to you about your commentary on the internet, but I want you to know I think you're pretty good." And walked away.
That's what I'm saying.
And Scar was like,
it's crazy. That's the kind of thing I feel like Scar would do to me.
No.
No.
It's just like the point is dude, it's like
exactly, man. Exactly.
My dad used to always make this joke. He'd be like, "Hey, I don't care what people say about you. You're all right."
Bro, you're fucking spitting right now.
So here's the thing. I know who wrote it. And again, it went through editors.
I'm not trying to blast nobody.
No. I mean, you can look it up. It's not like it's not public. It's KB. It's on the site.
I said I'm not trying to blast somebody.
It's not on blast. I don't think that. Here's the thing. They went through editors. They didn't see any. KB didn't think it came across as accusatory of making Spark look bad. I think the editors didn't think that either. Spark read it as negative.
I'm not trying to.
And now suddenly this person who doesn't really have a big online following suddenly is getting blown up for something that they obviously didn't come across as intended. Maybe that several people reviewed this. It's not just one person. Obviously, in the old days, there were a lot of blurbs where okay, you could expect that Alex 19's blurb in the 20 whatever in the rankings from 2016 is going to be just memes. Obviously, things have been trying to work to improve that since then, and there's a lot more processes. These rankings are probably the best they've ever been, both in terms of the amount of people voting, the general there's no huge outliers in the votes this time. They ran the data. This is the most kind of reasonable. There was no crazy ballots.
I hear
submitted.
you, but Curly,
so at some point, and the blurbs are part of it. But here's the thing: if this is still going to happen, basically, I'm gonna get full time. KB is gonna come work for me and seed Tekken for the rest of the time.
Who should we roast instead of Spark?
As KB
I
did.
need you to answer the question, Curly.
I think you just look. All players can be roasted. They're all you don't need them to run. They're not important.
Oh, okay.
The video game happens with or without
you're
roasted enough.
You're in pure Tio sauce. Just all.
No idea. Look, I think you're a great player. Look, I say I like that you're friends with Apology Man. That's my favorite thing about you.
That's very.
That's the
that
nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
See? That's my blurb then.
All right, there we go.
It's
Earlier
still
this
blurb,
week, let's
blurb.
move on to our next topic. Earlier this week, sMashcon tweeted enigmatically about PC Chris's fundraiser to build a PC in 2015. He argued that the backlash PC Chris's reputation received after he got the money, then disappeared, is a mark of the lack of empathy in the Melee scene. Because maybe he had a really good reason for disappearing after making promises to people who sent him money, and how could any of us know anyways? Is sMashcon right that we should extend empathy to PC Chris on this? And why did sMashcon even bring this up 8 years later?
Oh,
Bro,
man. Yeah.
This shit is really. All right, you go.
So
Sure.
funny.
Here's the thing. I think there's this sMashcon reality, which is like PC's a really great guy, and something could happen to him. And then there's a PC was scamming the community, and it was really horrible. Here's the thing. Everybody who's tried to stream on a consistent basis for long enough knows sometimes you just stop streaming and it's just like, fuck it, I got other shit to do. I don't think it was like evil. I don't think PC was like, nah, I suckered the community out of their money. This is awesome. Now I've got a gaming PC. Time to play some Fortnite. I don't know. I just think he wasn't that motivated to stream all the time. The guy has a job and stuff. It happens. I think the reality is somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I don't know. PC's a cool guy. It is weird that sMashcon brought it up and then made it a thread as if people were discussing it and I have heard the sort of allegations, or not allegations, the accusations that PC Chris is scamming the community. And I'm like, bro, he probably just got tired of streaming. That shit is draining.
Yeah, we barely do half the things that we put in our Patreon for rewards. Please subscribe to our Patreon. My landlord raised rent.
I think Magi still owes the community all kinds of shit from that one summit she got into.
I got some shit I did not do.
It happens. It doesn't mean you're evil. Magi's
let
great.
The player without sin cast the first stone.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
sMashcon does not live. sMashcon, I feel, is less of a community member than I am, and I've played the game less than 5 times in my entire life.
Damn. Okay.
It's he lives in this other.
You're spitting, but also you're wrong. sMashcon made.
He did, but
sMashcon
he also
is the reason I'm here.
Clearly out of date. He's been out of touch for a long time. I don't think this is crazy to say. We saw this when Metagame, released during the pandemic. That a lot of the opinions that he kind of portrayed in it, everyone who was watching in 2020 was like, no one really thinks this or thought this. He lives in this other weird reality of the community, but has a huge following. So when he tweets something like this was a very pressing issue to him when he did it.
Yeah, I wonder if he thought this was a common thing that everybody knew instead of new information that 85% of the community was going to latch onto as one of 3 pieces of information they know about PC Chris.
Right.
But we also have to think about who was the target here. Who were the people that would be donating to PC Chris? And it's probably people who actually know who PC Chris is, which at this point is largely 30-plus-year-old Melee players who probably all work in tech. So he was relieving rich nerds of their money, which is usually a good thing. So
okay, they might not have been rich nerds yet in 2015. I think that was pre-bag for a lot of the people. But I hear you.
I mean, it happens all the time in every community. It's not. I guess maybe he got some backlash back then, but you have cases.
I think sMashcon still goes to locals. By the way, I think sMashcon is still in the sauce. I think he does have his. You're right that he does have his perspectives on things.
So I have a take about this.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is all part of a sMashcon Twitter series thread thing where every day he's posting some new shit about the documentary. And this is not I can see how he might be looking for something to tweet about and then he would say this, but because there's not really anything here. Nobody's talking about this. And he's people, this happened and we don't know why. And that's the whole thread. And my hot take is that no, I got one more thing to say.
Okay.
Is if you look at Tafo's Twitter now, it's
Dude,
mind goblin shit.
God.
And I muted him 2 weeks ago because it's very clear that he's just trying to get the bag from Elon. And I think the same is the case with sMashcon. This tweet about PC Chris says nothing. It's clear that he's got the brain rot because he wants the monetization. It's obvious, bro.
No, you guys are all wrong. This question actually did have a correct answer, which is that a few days later, sMax tweeted that his computer has broken. So clearly what's going on is we're about to rev up for a sMax fundraiser for a new gaming computer.
But bold of you to assume that any of us follow sMax when you had to link the tweet in the Discord before so we knew what the hell this topic was.
Well, I'm not in tech anymore, so this is going to be tough.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll be able to this time.
Listen, it's hard. Next topic, Leffen wins Evo. Today we have CurlyW to represent the voice of the FGC Melee Understander, and Leffen's win seems to have sparked some beautifully negative reactions. Panelists, true, spark. Panelists, how does Leffen's legacy change from winning 2 Evos, but one of them is Melee and the other one is Strive? How does that legacy compare to FGC legends who won many more titles, but in the same game series?
All right, if Curly, if you don't want to start, I'll go first.
I'll go last, I think, on this one.
that makes sense. I think for Leffen, definitely not the GOAT, but definitely in the conversation. I mean that in a very literal sense. After Evo Japan, there were a bunch of because I'm in the same neighborhood with like a lot of the 10-0 guys who were streaming the event remotely, and we got Seg took us all out to dinner, and you know Sajam was there, Ultra David. Bunch of Yipes was there. And somehow this topic actually came up. Mind you, this was Evo Japan, so this was before this Evo. And they were talking about who's potentially the greatest fighting gamer of all time. And I stayed silent because I didn't want to. And someone brought Leffen up, and then when someone said Leffen, like people were like, so like Leffen's. When I say he's in the conversation, I literally mean he's in the conversation. Like when this topic comes up in FGC circles, Leffen's name actually does get brought up. I don't think he's the GOAT. And I do also want to make a point that nobody else is making. I think Melee is extremely different than 2D fighters. This gets brought up every single time. Like Melee is, I mean, the overlap. I mean, watch Mango play Ryu.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mango. I
think
Mango doesn't watch this. Wait, but let me finish.
Mango's the weird
Here's
one.
the thing.
Mango does watch this, and then he always jumps right to the part in the show where we shit on him. I have seen it happen. That man is favored by God.
But let me. But hang on. That's not the point. I'm actually trying to make the opposite point. Here's the thing. Melee is super different from most 2D fighters. It's absolutely the case, and it's really kind of awesome that Leffen's extremely good at both like anime fighters and Melee. But he's not the only person to do this. Like Tokido winning Marvel at CEO 2011, like Jimmy J. Tread getting, was it second or third? Third at Evo this year in Multi-Blood Type Lumina. Jimmy J. Tread, who used to work at the freaking 85 degrees in NorCal that I used to go to.
Absolutely insane losers
Jimmy J. Tread, godlike OG Tekken player, and I'm like, why is he in top 4 of Melty Blood? And you know how different Tekken and Melty Blood are? Tekken and Melty Blood are not. They are literally Melee and Strive.
And it's actually Jimmy's 3rd Evo medal. He also has one.
I know in Third Strike.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, no, like Leffen is not the only person to be outstanding at like 2 extremely different fighting games. Even Arslan Ash and like Tekken and KOF, like Tekken is not that similar to KOF. They're really different. So but Leffen's like top.
Pieces in Tekken, so it's not the same.
Dr. Z.
Well, I mean, I think we also had Deep Dragon Ball Fighters where he did really well, right? I mean, he got. Was it second to Goichi?
No, he got 9th at that CEO. It was a memorable set.
No, at Evo. I thought they
Evo he got 33rd the only year.
Okay.
Oh, but there was the Invitational.
At the Smash Summit?
Yeah.
Or the Dragon Ball Summit. I think he got 9th there too. I think he had like an unexpected loss.
Oh, wow. I thought he got second to Goichi.
I've been washed!
No, because Hook Gang God won that. Hook won that.
Okay.
Try a third game.
Marvel Infinite, he got like I think 17th or 25th at the Canada Cup, but that was after they had to replay that bracket because the player had entered twice.
Beautiful. Well,
I'll have more later.
I think like Toph, you and Brandon did like this show on Golden Guardians of like the GOAT pyramid, and like I think that's where like Leffen is in the discussion. Like he's not at the top, but he's in one of those levels of it. So, like, what does he need to do to get to either, like, level 2 or level 1 of the pyramid?
And this would be, like, the esports general pyramid where, like, Faker is at the top, right? And it's, like, the goats of goats.
RTZ is always at the top.
I see. Spark.
Dude, in some ways, I feel like it's apples and oranges, and it's also depending on who you ask, because, like, some people don't respect Smash at all, but it's so different, I feel like, from fighting games, and, dude, even, I watched Leffen play, right after Genesis, he entered some stupid netplay tournament for Strive, and it looked like laggy as fuck, and he just, he lost, and he was pissed about it, and I can't imagine doing that for 2 games, so I can't tell you if it's GOAT of GOAT status, but it's pretty fucking swag. As for the GOAT of GOAT, maybe I'm ignorant because I'm not too involved, but isn't that Daigo? Or is it
there's a lot of people you could bring up, and I guess I'll
Sonic Fox.
I will. Yeah, Sonic Fox, of course. And there's a lot of people you can mention. Some others are Kazunoko, Zhao Hai, Justin Wong, even. Right now, after winning his second Evo title, Leffen now only one fewer title than Perfect Legend has, and Perfect Legend has titles in 2 games as well. And I don't think anyone. I like Carl. I don't think anyone considers Carl in the discussion, and I agree. I think Leffen should be in the discussion. I just don't think the discussion is yes. Most of my annoyance regarding this topic is the Hugs tweet that Hugs made in 2018, and I don't remember what event Leffen was at with Dragon Ball, because Leffen did win a few events, I think mostly in Europe, but ran into unfortunate brackets or bad luck, or just Evo back then was not a great competitor experience, and as a result didn't have any huge results despite having a very memorable match against Goichi at CEO. That all said, I think specifically for Strive, Leffen, without a doubt, amazing results in Strive. I will say, he seems so much happier playing Strive than he does playing Melee. It is night and day. Night and day. So instead of saying, a Smash player won Evo, I like to think of it as a Guilty Gear Strive player.
So you guys, wait. I gotta say something about this. I gotta say something.
No.
I really need to say something.
I'm not even done. If anything, though, it's Leffen's Melee resume that puts him out of the running for being the FGC GOAT. He's never won a Genesis. He's never won a Big House. He's never won a Smash Summit. He did win the Evo, but at the 5 other times he was at Evo, he missed top 8 at 3 of them. I would say at the Evos he did enter. 2013 he got 9th in Melee and went 3-2 in Marvel 3. Did not make it out of his round 1 pool. He lost to Darren and Fruitsy. 2014 9th in Melee, went 3-2 in King of Fighters 15. Third in his round 1 pool again.
Has done
lost to Zhao Hai
at every single Evo.
DQ'd out of Street Fighter.
Every single Evo has been a Leffen W as far as I'm concerned. Plupset is gone. Thank you for your contributions. Toph, what do you think?
I just really need to respond to Leffen. Here's the thing. Leffen, I think competing in Strive, because there's a lot less pressure and expectation on Leffen, I think competing is less stressful than Melee. But if you've ever watched his stream, if he's fighting a Ramlethal Valentine, and then you watch the stream playing Melee.
That's
the game itself, he is a lot happier playing Melee.
That's how you know he's a Guilty Gear player. That's how you know he's a Guilty Gear player, though. Because every Guilty Gear player hates every other character, and you know this too.
And watching Leffen play Melee, it's just like he's
also
happy.
Leffen
It is just the
down like Zain in his prime. Zain cut down by COVID. Leffen cut down by customs. These people.
That is true. Yes, but again, we can't predict without that. You're right. Again, if Gama was the biggest tournament, then yes. If Gama was the only Melee tournament that existed, then yes, he is in the conversation.
He's got some classic wins, I gotta tell you. Number 2, as my second Evo topic, there is a slot on Sunday each year for a retro game. This year, it was the, to me, inscrutable Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which I'm told is very fun to watch in pools. Here's what I want to know. What do we need to give up in our rule set to maximize the probability of getting into Evo, if not this next year, then the year after? Is it HDMI Melee, running best of 3, 3 stocks, 2 stocks? Do we need Pokimane intervention? I'm groveling. What do we think top players would accept to get back to the big stage?
I'll obviously go last again, but I do want to say it is not a guaranteed Sunday slot.
No, why don't you go first?
It's not a guaranteed Sunday slot. Marvel was the 4th largest game. The slots on Sunday are entirely based on attendance and entries.
I don't need Sunday. But I would like it.
Look,
actually, no. What? Yeah, let's focus on that. What
in general,
do Curly?
In general, no.
I'm groveling.
I mean, I think at some point it's just one slot, and there's a lot of other games that could get it each year. Obviously, I think I can say that, like, okay, it won't be Marvel 3 next year. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of new games coming out. We already know this. It's even hard to tell even what the lineup's going to be. I think there's at least 6 games for sure, maybe.
I need you to answer the question.
But as
what
far as
do
Melee,
I need to
eventually,
do for you?
nothing. It'll eventually happen. Given enough time.
Okay, that's pretty based.
Also, there's more Evos now. It doesn't have to defeat the one in Vegas. It could be an enemy.
There's only one thing we can do, and that is for the ultimate texture pack. Instead of Super Smash Bros. Melee, it's Ultra Fight Sisters Tussle. We change everything so Nintendo doesn't know what this game is. We have to change absolutely everything from the ground up. All the characters are different. Fox,
just get
that's
Valve
a cat now. Falco, that's some dude. Marth, he's a guy with a pool noodle. We need to revamp everything.
I've been saying this.
We've said this for years. But
we get into Evo.
But and unless Valve steps in like they did with Dota to make Dota 2, I don't think that's going to happen. That said, it will eventually happen. I do think that's part of why it was added. I don't think that's
Frankenstein's monsters.
You gotta wait.
Pop off.
You just gotta wait, and there's nothing you can do. And
it
will be best of 3. It will be best of 3. That is not changing.
Okay.
Is Sony not an obstacle here? Like that to me seems like the biggest impediment here is like.
I don't believe so because the biggest obstacle specifically, it's not Sony directly. It's that Nintendo. So the reason that Smash Ultimate was going to be in last year, 2022, like there were already initial plans before the announcement, and Nintendo said no on the reason that Sony now owns Evo. I don't think it's a direct Sony thing. Eventually, though, sometimes the companies do have to work together.
So
what
would you give up? What kind of groveling would you do?
I'd give, I don't know. I'm down to run best of 1 again, where Mango had to beat Mewtwo King on Dreamland. I think that was lit. I think that was lit. In fact, I think what we really ought to do is I'm down for best of 3 the whole way, like Curly said, but specifically Leffen is first to 1 every single match he plays in the bracket.
Yeah,
I think that'd be funny.
Also, that'd be really funny.
Also, I'm down. This is on a whole other level. In fact, I would bring it back anyway. I'm bringing back wobbling. I think the ice is made. I think they've had it. I think they've had it too hard. Have you
dude, yeah, they're all gone.
It's sad.
We should do wobbling on 5 years, wobbling off 5 years.
Dude, Sheik
I'm down.
I'm down. Same matchup. All
dude,
the
no,
other
straight up,
people
straight
get
up.
to enjoy.
I played Moff. No, listen, Spark. I played Moff at Combo Breaker. Amazing player. And guess what? When Moff grabbed me, I died. And I was like, oh, wow. Good thing we banned wobbling. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Like, screw Peach and Puff players. Sorry, Sheridan. You're fine. You get what I'm saying. I said that I have a lot of respect for you.
Wait, but how did you die from the center of the stage when there's that RNG shit?
I don't. Like, I took 70 and... you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
RNG dissipates when you have the Halo 2 sweater on.
You should just give every character wobbling. Evo loves wobbling. It was like the hypest stuff.
It's like
when Wobbles was making his run, I was there. I have the funniest story from when I'd never really seen competitive Melee before until that Evo. Yeah. And I remember sitting with Josh the Funk Doc, who you might know from the Summoning Assault Castlevania
I know Josh the Funk
video.
Doc from the rhythm game community, actually.
As well, yeah. He's been in a bunch of communities, and he was very hyped for the wobbling. Everyone around us was not. And but I remember that Evo specifically, there were like 6 sets until there was a Fox vs Falco, and as soon as there was, the person in front of us yelled, "Finally, real Melee."
Yeah, but when the Wobbler got to grand finals at Evo invited us back for 6 years straight or whatever, or 5 years straight. So
we love it.
I don't do that.
I don't know.
Wobbling is swag.
We love it.
I miss Army. Does anyone miss Army?
I miss Army.
Let's go,
love
Army.
Where is he?
Let's
he was at Vertigo this week.
I do want to make one more point. There's one thing that we will have to give up to go back to Evo, and that is we will have to play on monitors and not CRTs.
I'm down. I'm so down. I'm
so
down.
Likely, but not definite, but likely.
Yeah. I've been saying
I don't know. I don't think it's definite, but I think it's likely.
I've actually been saying for years that, like, straight up. First of all, monitors are. It's just that some monitors are shit, right? Or not really the monitor.
That's what they say, bro.
It's how you connect it to the console. Spark. This is the one. Zain, I'm sorry. This is the one thing we're gonna disagree. We
have to disagree.
I think you're a bitch on this one. I'm sorry, bro.
Like,
if you plan to go upset, if it's not that big a deal, bro.
Or something. The next day, it's on.
That's tough, bro. That's tough. That's tough.
You cannot tell me it's placebo. Bro.
You're also complaining about online and then getting top 8 at Coinbox every single time.
Dude, because I took my brain off and my eyes off. You guys don't know, bro.
You don't
I
understand.
not real Melee.
All right, this is our
It
last
is
topic. This is our
totally
last
possible.
topic. It's
Okay,
timeout
sorry.
discourse again. HBox versus Zain was somehow not the most viral shot clock moment of the week. That honor goes to the Swooper, who took his sweet time recovering on the last stock of Game 5 of Set 1 of Grand Finals versus Don't Test Me. Zain could do nothing but vaguely wave around his pool noodle of a blade as Swooper clinched the win. Hero or hate crime?
Dude, if the rules don't enforce it, then like you can't blame my mans, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does no stalling really mean if you get down to it? You gotta have some concrete rules or this is what's gonna happen. You absolutely cannot blame my mans here. You need actual rules. Those are the vibes, man. You can't just have social pressure dictate the entire scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm actually totally with Zayn on this one. Like, this is actually how it's been forever. Like, this came up a couple years ago. Like, Michael went to a timeout in some tournament, and like, I think it was Michael went, did some pound.
We had to make the call,
right? Because it's like, is that pound stalling? Yeah, but in the rule set, when you see the words pound stalling, which by the way isn't really explicitly defined, it's like people have come to understand that to mean doing it kind of infinitely and abusing the fact that you can do it infinitely if you execute it properly. But you can also interpret that to mean stalling with pound at all. I do think there's something very beautiful about the fact that we've been playing this game for 20 years, and it is this weird social construct or contract rather that. Remember that one time Mewtwo King like stalled on the ledge for 8 minutes against Westballs, and it was like, damn, this is a real fucking problem.
That was
like
swag.
this is gonna get abused, and like it's gonna be, we're gonna have to do something about this. And then it just never became a problem because no one wants to play that way, which is insane. Like, we're playing at tournaments for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But people are so I do think.
Hey man, if
The
it's
point is,
yes,
hang
we
on.
are.
Let me just finish the point I'm making. People really want to win in Melee, right? People really, really, really want to win, and yet there is something that's beautiful enough about the game that they don't want to win a certain way. I don't think that's like the perfect solution, but I think there is something kind of charming about that.
They don't want to piss on the canvas.
Side note, to directly answer the question, Swooper explicitly did nothing wrong because timing out Roy is funny.
And the funny rule overrides all.
Of course.
Dr. Z, what do you think?
Well, if we really want to have the funny rule, then, what Swooper did was put himself in a position where Roy couldn't hit him. And is that fair? I don't know. But if we're going about fairness, why don't we make it so that, top tiers basically always have to approach low tiers? If you're not doing stupid nairs as Fox against Mewtwo, are you really playing the game the way it's supposed to be played? I mean, are we about fairness or what here?
Maybe
that's basically my mindset.
Zayn is the one who stalled by picking Roy. At some point, picking a low tier is in a sense.
I'm with that.
The thing about Roy is that he's cringe. So you can't blame my man's even more than you.
That's just the matchup.
Maybe
that's
you
just the
should
matchup. You can play Marth. You know that, right? You don't always have to be popular. Oh, low tier.
Like when Puff camps so many characters, like Sheik and Samus can just like throw shit at that. That shit doesn't work. Pick a different character maybe, or enforce some actual rules. But whatever you do, you can't blame my mans here. You just can't.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the timer's fine. You can leave it at 8.
All right. That is our final topic. We are running a little bit over time, so I'm going to bring us right into the tiebreaker now. Anybody that's unfamiliar with the show, how it works is obviously Toph and Spark are tied in the lead, two giants of the with huge Fourside credibility going into this episode. But the way the tiebreaker works is anybody can come back from behind, right? This is a little bit like the end of RuPaul's Drag Race, where I kind of just decide who's going to win, and it helps if you're ahead, but it's not quite enough. So, our final tiebreaker topic. What should Melee learn from the FGC, and what should the FGC from Melee? Who wants to take it first? Nobody's suggesting it?
I kind of alluded to... Yeah, I'll start. I kind of alluded to this earlier in the episode when we were talking about like Mango and even Leffen, like expectations on Leffen. I think that in particular, they're when you look at specific people in the FGC, like I just think that there's something about I think a lot of the especially the older FGC vets, where they are really, really good about handling losses, handling expectations. I think people like, especially like Daigo, Tokido, you kind of look at their faces when they're coming off of tournament losses that are like, really heartbreaking and also for a lot of money sometimes. And yeah, I think that there's something about, like, I don't know if that's work that they've explicitly done, but I think that the FGC in a lot of ways, at least the older generation, the older folks that are still competing, I think they've really distinguished themselves in that aspect. As for what I think the FGC can learn from Melee, like, I really like that we have this game that we are still playing 20 years later. I mean, there's a ton of titles in the FGC too that I think have awesome communities that have really stood the test of time. But if you're gonna point to a fighting game that's like, wow, this is an old game and the community is still thriving and the community 100% is pushing it forward, it's Melee, right? That's the title.
Yes,
hands down. So
I can agree to that for sure. Yeah, I've obviously thought a lot about this as someone who works, originally from FGC and has worked on Melee events. In fact, I've tried to do that by getting a bunch of Melee tournament staff into EVO and into Combo Breaker over the years. And I still think there's definitely still things that. Why am I in an interview right now? For one thing, I would say the one thing I would wish Melee would learn from fighting games, which is something that I think Melee doesn't fully always appreciate that they have, is that Melee is so North American centric and even more, or at least Anglophone centric in terms of where the players are, that I think that a lot of people in Melee take that for granted. In fighting games, like especially like King of Fighter, Street Fighter, and Tekken, like we just saw an entire extremely dominant region in Tekken, Pakistan, come out of nowhere. No one knew this until 2019.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Spark knows. I don't know how big the Melee scene is there. There's just so many parts of the world.
There's nobody there. It's just your boy and Steel Ride-On from Bahrain.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think Melee doesn't always fully appreciate, is that the world is so many people that would love to play, if not Melee, at least, some sort of either, PvP fighting game, or even if it is a platform fighter. Brawlhalla is very popular in South America and in Eastern Europe, places that Melee is not nearly as popular.
The thing about that is Pakistan never really got the GameCube, because every vendor wanted consoles that pirated games. So when I was 5 years old, even, I remember being in Pakistan, literally age 5, being like, why does everyone play Tekken here? Like, deadass back then, everyone played Tekken.
Oh, and even older probably did play King of Fighters, because again, even more so than they played Street Fighter, because Neo Geo was just much cheaper. That's why.
So what can Melee learn from the FGC about having an international presence?
I think you just realize you guys got a lot of things going for you, and that is why at least you've been able to get to where you are. And I think at some point, if you were to, I think that is great that you have been able to do that. But when it's just one of those things where it's like, please don't need to compare of like better or worse. I try not to do that, except when it's a joke and it's funny, in terms of which community is better. So I just wish Melee would at least understand that in terms of the community being large, it is very still centralized in only parts of the world. And at some level, now that the game's on Slippy, if there's some way to promote it now so that Pakistan can become the best region in that in another 10 years, Spark's probably going to be the person to do that. I think actually that's Spark's mission for the next 10 years.
I'm down.
Yep, take it.
As far
as what they have fighting games to learn, I mean, I've already gotten them seating better, so that's nice. That's at least like one big thing. The other big one is eventually I'll probably get them figure out how to do when you overlap the pool waves, so you're running like phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time. I tried it at Computer Broke last year, didn't quite go well. Eventually we'll get there.
Okay, Dr. Z, what should Melee learn from the FGC? What should the FGC learn from Melee?
Yeah, so I think the FGC, kind of like Toph said, they're just really good about handling losses or just handling bad things happening to them in tournament. You don't see quite, I mean, everybody complains, but you don't see quite as much of like the organized complaining against people in the FGC as you do in Melee. And this is, it's almost to a fault with the FGC, because like overly complaining is seen as scrubby. And I kind of feel like that's a holdover from, David Serlin thought dominating, the FGC mindset. So I think FGC, like Melee and Smash in general, could learn to take things in stride better. But I think FGC could learn to be more critical of their institutions and also move beyond David Serlin thought and realize that, actually, it's good if you have good seating down to, top 256. And complaining about bad seating is not scrubby. Complaining about bad scheduling is not scrubby. Complaining about TOs not doing their job is not scrubby. There are some things you don't have to deal with. And I think Smash, as a community project, has really helped us focus on thinking about everybody at the tournament's experience and really doing the best for everybody.
Nice. And Spark.
It's, by the way, Sheridan, it's extra brave of you to say that, I feel, as like a head TO.
Yeah. To say
Because I feel
cool
like
that we
TOs
shit on
never.
TOs.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, Smash people complain, but they all still went to Apex all those years.
Yes.
Yeah, but we shit talked those guys the whole time.
All right, Spark.
So I think something that we could learn from the FGC is there's a lot of it just rubs me the wrong way how there's so much where people are bending over backwards for top players. Oh, I missed the registration date, but I'm Mango. Can I just reg anyway? Oh, I'm seated one below this person, but I beat them. And everyone is just bending over backwards. We got this VIP room filled with LaCroix and donuts, and it's there's this popularity contest. I just would like it a lot more if we were all on the same playing field. That's what's beautiful about competition, is we're all just bussing it down. Nobody gets special treatment. Who pushes buttons better? Let's find out. And I think we could learn a lot in that regard. As for the other way around, I think that what the FGC could learn from Melee is there's something so unbelievably beautiful when you see such an in-depth game develop for so long without changing it, and just having so many people involved with just pushing the meta to its absolute limits. To this day, people are just coming up with new stuff. It's absurd. And I know a lot of these games are just as intricate. Games like Third Strike, games like Marvel 2, Ultimate Marvel 3, all of these games, I hear Vineet talk about Marvel 3, and the way he talks about it, I can tell this game is awesome. And I wish that it had the spotlight to shine and have the meta go as far as it possibly can. But if it's not really any people, not really any eyes, and if there aren't really, aside from locals, any events, it's just not really going to happen. So yeah, that's about it.
I would like to change my answer to
we're so over time. We're 20 minutes over. I am trying to drive this ship to a
day one of
conclusion
Pools
here.
and Marvel.
Okay.
Because you said you didn't.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is a tough one. I feel like a lot of you echoed the answers that Toph gave first. So I feel like I'm very much in a bind about this episode. However, ultimately, for dedicating himself to the mission of bringing Melee beyond these the North American shores in the Anglosphere, I'm going to give this episode to Spark as our winner.
That's fine.
Spark, congratulations. Let's get over to Fourside.
Also, number 21 was too low, so Spark deserves this.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
my number 17.
Yeah, this is the TOs giving Spark better.
I appreciate it. What's poppin', guys? It's your boy Spark, coming at you with this beautiful Fourside fight. Sheridan playing Red Roy, absolutely dominating this Yoshi, and young Christopher is Sheik, and on my end the Discord stream is chunking, but I can see, holy shit, Yoshi is schmoving on the UFO. It's actually insane movement right now. It's a little hard to make out what's going on, but Sheik is.
Here, I'll stream my view too, Spark, and you can look at that if you want.
Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. I think I see it better now.
Can't shield prep on the UFO. I didn't know that.
Sheesh. Wait, that's actually insane. Oh, monster inverse tipper. Beautiful ASDI down shield grab from Sheridan. Okay, we're actually just going sicko mode on these walls right now. Oh, the dunk from Yoshi. That was crazy. Oh, Yoshi's actually busting it down on both of them at the same time. It's actually too lit right now. They're just scrapping. They're not like me, shameless and running away. You gotta respect it.
You did change the game.
Yeah, the thing about me is, you know, I try hard at charity events, and that will never change.
No.
Oh, that needle grab attempt was crazy. That back throw? Okay, it actually didn't do anything. That down air was a little ballsy. Just nares both of them in the face. Yoshi's going crazy. Yoshi's...
by the way, context for the YouTube viewers, Daniel RGT is CurlyW's champion for this fight.
That tech air dodge was so clutch by Daniel. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, they're scrapping. Oh, that air dodge. Okay, yeah. They're fine. Wow. That's Yoshi doing that up smash. Ba-dum-bum. Wow. Okay, it's actually too lit right now. You just gotta air dodge. Yoshi's fine. Oh, the fair was so aggressive. Oh, wobbling with the jabs. Gets up tilted by Roy. Chill vibes, even at 130%, even at 1,000,000%, might I add. Okay. Oh, that air dodge was clutch. Yoshi's not. Oh, that up smash was crazy. Oh my goodness. If I were Christopher, I would just Shino stall for the rest of the entire game. But you know, he's a better man than me. Okay. Oh, that nair was intense. Okay. Is he gonna clean up Sheridan? Sheridan's like on the brink. Hug that wall. Absolutely hug the wall. You need to at this percent. I would run away and then hug the other wall on the other side of this building. Okay, misses the tech, but it's chill vibes. Get the ledge. All good in the hood. All goo in the who. Okay. Oh, what is Chris doing? What's he doing? What is he cooking? Oh, Sheridan's cook. Oh, is Sheridan dead? Okay. Camp the ledge. Oh, then there's gonna be it. That's gonna leave a mark, dude. Okay, down air. Okay. This is actually so intense. Oh, the single egg. The single grounded egg. Oh, UFO duel? He's not afraid. He's moving. He's after the double jump. No! Oh! The down smash.
Good game.
And that is the end. Toph is the winner of the fight on Fourside. And of course, congratulations to Spark, the winner of Fourside Fights. Thank you all for being here. Please follow these kind people who are our pundits today. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hope you enjoyed the show. Bye-bye.
Bye.